Hello everybody, it is I, Cool, back again, and today I'm going to be reviewing Jim Reverick and Spikey Phillups from the 2026 Cars Diecast line. This 2-pack is pretty interesting because on the surface, it's just another next-gen 2-pack. We've gotten tons of these, like, several times. But what I find interesting about Jim Reverick and Spikey Phillups is the fact that Jim Reverick is iconic. Why? This guy was one of the rarest next gens back when he first came out. The hype for him was insane. Jim Reverick was the last new next gen from Cars 3 to be released. And I feel like we take that for granted, that the next gens took so long to all get released. The Cars 1 racers took us about 2 years to complete. The Cars 3 racers, like the stock cars, only took us about 2 years. But the next gens, they took their sweet time with the next gens, which I think was a really good choice. From what I've seen, the fan reception to the next gens was a lot more positive back then than it is now, where they don't really do too many of the next gens that have been released in a while. Like, for example, Dan Garcia, only done twice. Or what's a good example? There's Steve Slickle Page. I think every single next gen has received at least one re-release now, with the exception of Ed Trunken. I do not know what is the deal with Ed Trunken, but he's gotten a few EU variants, so I guess it balances out. And then there's Spikey Phillups, who I think absolutely nobody cares about, but from what I've heard, this new China production variant is really good. I didn't have either of these, and I was a little apprehensive to buying a next gen 2-pack, but it was the only good item at Target besides Jeff and Pat, so decided to grab it. On the back, it doesn't show Jeff and Pat since that's considered a Cars 1 release. And, made in China. Wait. Cadillac? But there's no Cadillac on the back. Is this just reused from the... No, because the other one has... No, wait, no, it is. Okay, so they still credit Cadillac even though there's no Cadillacs here. These are both fictional models. Very odd. And here they are out of the box. I'm going to start with Spikey Phillups, since Spikey is a lot less interesting. Spikey is one of my least favorite design next gens. I just feel like it's so just bland. I don't have Ralph Carlo out. Is he? I have the little box I keep Ralph Carlo in. Is he around here? Let me check. Shoot, I should have prepared for this, but I'm too lazy. Yeah, but basically, Little Turkey Pistons used to have a bunch of different colors. It was red, white, and blue with a bit of yellow, and they took 2 of those colors out. Now it's just bland. I've heard people say it's supposed to look like water, and I kind of see that, but it just, I don't know. It is a really nice metallic dark blue. I do like that. It definitely looks better than the original, where the blues just did not contrast that well, so it kind of just looked really generic. It still blends in a lot. This looks a lot like the other next gen Dan Garcia, who I mentioned earlier, although I believe that guy has... No, I know. I'm thinking the Glow Racer. Glow Racer Dan Garcia has a lot more yellow on him. This doesn't. I feel like a lot of next gens would benefit from not having black wheels. I feel like black wheels, instantly makes a Piston Cup racer look a lot more generic, which I guess a lot of NASCARs look like this, but it just looks so boring on these kinds of models. Got the eyes there. There was a time where people thought that this guy's name was Eric Breaker, and that this isn't a guy. That's a reference to my friend Master Pasta made Spikey a girl in his AU, and I think that's really cool. Spikey is kind of just a nickname. It's not a real name, I don't think. I know Spike is a real name, but Spikey 117 Little Torquey Pistons with a little piston there. Okay, no, that's just the arrow to indicate where to lift the car up. If you look closely, the piston kind of makes it look like it's L and T. Although that's a reverse T. What is that? T doesn't look like that. But yeah, that was pointed out, and I guess that's cool design. Little torquey pistons. feel like I would have just removed the mascot. Instead, it kind of just looks like the mascot's like faded out, which I guess works. And is that a misprint? What was that? So yeah, Spikey overall. There's a look at the base. Not a terrible next gen, I guess. It's definitely one that I'm like hit or miss on. It's okay. All right, time for the start of the show. The guy that I think everyone cares about, Jim Reverick. Now, an interesting thing about the original Jim Reverick is that his decals were entirely chrome. Like, the guy was chrome. They really emphasized how shiny he was, which I think was actually to a detriment, because a lot of people complained that you could, like, barely read his decals, and also his green paint was just not accurate. And also, the whites of his eyes would, like, constantly turn yellow. This version really gets Jim Reverick a lot more right, because, like, you look at his card art here, and it's not super metallic. Like, you're comparing this to Spikey Phillups. Spikey is more metallic than Jim Reverick, but the diecast didn't do that. My biggest, like, praise for 2026 is that a lot of the next gens, like, despite the fact that I don't like that they did mostly next gens, they upgraded the next gen so much, and I'm so happy they did that, because it makes collecting next gens just that little bit less tedious, because now they're a lot better looking. And, you know, it kind of motivates people to be like, hey, these next gens are different and also look really good. Oh, also, a lot of early copies of China Jim Reverick had a sort of silver line above the grill, but that was fixed with this copy, which I'm really grateful for. Fortunately, a new issue seemed to crop up where, like, the side fender here is really silver. It's not too bad on this copy. I picked out a really good copy. Jim's design. I think Jim's design is cool. I like the silver lines and the big wing. Looks really cool. Carbon Cyber. I'm never going to own the stock car for this. Never. Bobby Rotesta is one of the most insanely expensive diecast of all time. I would love to get, like, a custom commission made for him, but that's just never going to happen, probably. Jim is a unibody, despite that both of these are the Tim Treadless model. I do not know why they insist on having some have not eye plates, and then some are. I much prefer this. I feel like this just looks really weird, but whatever. I really like his expression. I always liked Jim Reverick's expression. It just feels the most like a Cars character to me. Like, this feels the most alive out of any of the next gens. Like, this looks like a drone. This looks like a guy who's just trying to win a race. This feels very emblematic of, like, the early Cars racers. So yeah, light your tires, piston cup. Got the shiny blue here. It's a very nice shade of blue. I feel like the black rims actually accentuate the green and blue, because I think with a, like, very deep shade of blue like this, you need some more bright contrast, whereas this, I feel like this does a good job of, like, being the opposite of that. Rookie stripes. Tim Treadless is the only next gen to not have rookie stripes. This is really weird. And finally, a look at the base. One other complaint is, if they could do metallic sides for Jim Reverick, why couldn't they do that for Dynaco Cruise? That's, like, really distracting, because they did Dynaco Cruise this year as a single again for the first time in, like, 5 years. Maybe 6? I don't remember if she was out as a single in 2021, but, like, Dynaco Cruise hasn't been out in such a long time, and it's just like, what? So, yeah. Jim Reverick has more metallicness than Cruz Ramirez. I guess that's cool. You know, I'm really liking Jim Reverick more as I look at him. He has got these, like, cool, like, blue and silver. Huh. All right. I'm impressed, Jim Reverick. You actually maybe turned it around. So now the only 2021 next gen I'm missing is M-Fast Fong. I really hope they update M-Fast Fong next. I've heard his original diecast is just, like, very weak. So I'm going to hold out for next year that they'll re-release M-Fast. If not, oh well. Another car for me to get. Anyways, that's all I have for today. Hope you all enjoy the review, and I shall see you all around. Bye-bye!